Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation as always goes to the elect. And just sitting here doing some meditating. I had a conversation with the brother Bakwasha from the Houston camp one day earlier this week. And we were talking about the fact that when you look at our culture, all right, all of the tribes, that the vibration of the Queen of Heaven, all right, runs rampant, all right. And if you don't know what the Queen of Heaven is, you can look it up. But ultimately, it's the worship of the vagina, all right, the worship of the woman, all right. And you can see that trickling down all the way into this awakening of the Israelites in these latter days. You have particular Israelites who are still in that spirit, all right? And there's nothing wrong with loving, all right, your woman, all right, your mother, okay? Women are a beautiful thing, all right? And the Heavenly Father created them for a very beautiful purpose, all right, in order, which here in this society, they're out of that order. That's why we call them out of order, all right, as the men are as well. And here in these latter days, we're coming back to our, all right, orders that the Heavenly Father has set us up to be in, which is contrary to the order this world, all right, has raised us to be in. And me and the brother were talking about how here it is, you have the woman who's praised and worshipped for the fact that she carries the man's seed, all right, and the fact that she goes through child labor and birth pains when that's not how it's supposed to be. All right, nobody wants to talk about the reason she goes through those birth pains. And also nobody likes to talk about the fact that the man carried that seed around in his ball sack, all right, all right, millions and billions of seeds, you know, all the days of his life, all right, before he gave it to her, all right. Now it's all through the spirit of the Most High God, Yahweh, through Yahweh Shai, in his will, all right, that a seed makes it to the egg, all right. But ultimately here in this society and amongst Israel, even unto this day, you had this guy, Seed of Israel, which ironically, you know, he's making the argument that you're not what your father is, all right, ultimately taken away from the importance of men in acting as if that diminishes the woman, and it doesn't diminish the woman, okay, because the woman is of the man, okay, as we went into, the man not only determines the nationality of a child, all right, but he also determines the sex of the child. And when you go into the scriptures, you always see fathers, fathers, fathers. Now you have this guy teaching that you can ultimately be a mixed seed, all right, but the question comes to play, well, when judgment sets, okay, which judgment, let's say you mix with, all right, Jacob and Esau, Judah and Esau, right? Because you have a lot of Israelite men who went throughout the four corners of the earth and put their seed in many waters, all right? Waters meaning people, nations, women, okay? Now, the fact that we've laid with the women and bowed to their gods is one thing, but actually putting our seed in a foreign woman, all right, and what comes out of that is an Israelite is just fact. Now, when it comes to judgment, which judgment will be placed upon you if you are a mixed seed? If you're Judah and Esau, when it comes down to the final judgment, which side will you be judged? All right, where exactly? All right, will you be through the seed of your father, or will the judgment be because you're the seed of your mother? It doesn't make sense. Okay, women do not produce seeds. Okay, you are what your father is. Now, going back to the topic of the and we'll get into that a little bit just a minute, but going back into the topic of the Queen of Heaven, you can see here that this has always been a problem with our people. Now, here it is, we're reading the book of Jeremiah, and ironically, he prophesied in the Neo-Babylonian Empire, okay? and we're in the daughter of Babylon, all right, where those same gods, goddesses, and customs are being practiced here today. The same vibration, all right? The spiritual Sodom in Egypt. Also in Egypt, women were worshipped, okay? And, you know, when you take your true stance as a man, you don't worship no damn woman. You worship Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, all right? Now, women are a beautiful thing, and we love women, all right? But we understand here that our women are a product of a conquered nation, okay? And if you want to make the argument, all right, and you sisters who are trying and fighting, may Yahweh Bashem Yahshai bless you, okay? But the truth is the truth, you know, the mindset that the women and the men of our nation have. But, you know, when a nation is taken down, their women are the target first, okay, to put them under the vibration of the conqueror, okay? And that's ultimately what has happened to our women. So the way they think, the way they raise their children, the way they act towards the men of their nation, it's all predicated upon the mindset of the conqueror to help and aid in his program, okay? So they're like concubines, and that's what a concubine does. She bows to your God, she worships you as her Lord, and she forwards your God, your program. That's what's happening with the women of our nation here in Babylon the Great in these various different captivities, okay? So what we teach does not diminish the role of a woman, okay? But when you look at this, let's get Jeremiah 44:17. Call halal Yahweh Shemel Shai. It says, but we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers and our kings and our princes, all right, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then we had plenty of victuals, and were well and saw no evil. So when we were worshiping the Queen of Heaven, everything was going good for us, okay? And you can see it in Jeremiah, the 7th chapter. The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other God. So the Queen of Heaven, as you can see in the Babylonian captivity, okay, was a major factor in our downfall, and it's the worship of the womb. Okay, this is why no one sees any value in the role that the man plays, all right, in bringing forth the seed. It was always predicated upon the fathers. We are a product of our fathers. Both men and women are a product of their fathers. The fathers are ultimately, okay, why we're here, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So I'm going to jump here, all right? We brought this out before, but let's get the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter, okay? Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter. In the first verse it says, I myself also am like a mortal, or am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him, all right, that was first made of the earth. All right. Now, when Yahweh Shai told us who he was, what did he say? Let's get that real quick. In the book of Revelation, and I'm gonna try to make this quick. Just gotta get to camp real quick. But in Revelation, the 22nd chapter, in the 16th verse, it says, I, Yahweh Shai, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and offspring of David. Okay, he didn't mention his mother, though his mother had a very important role. The scripture tells you that Mary was blessed among women because ultimately she was the one chosen, the vessel chosen, all right, to ultimately nourish the seed that would bring forth the Messiah, that would bring forth the Messiah. All right, but he had a father whose name was Joseph. Okay, and Mary herself told you that Joseph was the father in the book of Luke. Okay, he's the seed, he's the root and the offspring of David. Okay, let's get that in the book of Romans real quick. The book of Romans. Okay, 1 and 3, concerning the Son, his son Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, Hamashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. Okay? Now, it also says of the fruit of the loins. Okay? Acts 2:30. Therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that God hath sworn with an oath, speaking of David, to him that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would raise up Hamashiach to sit on the throne. Okay? Let's go to the fruit. The word fruit in the Greek is karpos. All right, fruit, trees, vines. That which springs forth of a seed, basically, man. Okay, to gather fruit. All right, the fruit of one's loins, i.e. his progeny. Okay, you want to know what the word progeny means? Okay, a descendant or descendants of a person, animal, or plant, or offspring. Okay, and we are the offspring of our fathers, both man and woman. As we told you, the man has the XY chromosome, so he determines the sex and the nationality of the child. All right, and we should praise Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai for that. All right, but within this society, we've been taught to worship the woman and give her all the credit, as if the man has no credit or no value in the process. Go back to where we were at. And women, even the women of ancient Israel understood that, because the women are going to these channels that teach this, all right, because they feel like they lose value in the true gospel and doctrine of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, because it gives them the order. Okay, it's a very male-dominated book, although women have stories where they're written about. All right, but there's an order for a woman in this society, and the serpent has given you all of this garbage, and you fed into it. And now that you're waking up to the fact that you're an Israelite, you still want to carry those thoughts and traditions, and you think that order is captivity or order is undermining you. No. All right. Again, women are very important to the nation. Okay. And in particular, yeah, you do want to marry your own. All right. But men of Israel, all right, especially when they were kings, all right, because let's not get it twisted. Men did have multiple wives, but a man who multiplied women and concubines was most likely a king and had substance. All right, you did have men who maybe had 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 who had a little substance. All right, but men who multiplied and women and concubines were mostly kings. When you look up concubines, they're mostly synonymous with kings. Now, Abraham had a concubine, but Abraham had a lot of substance. Okay, he had a lot of substance. So when we get into the kingdom, it won't be a question. And the only reason things are being questioned right now, brothers, is because ultimately the low state that we're in. Okay, nobody's going around the earth telling Esau what he can and can't do. All right, with his money and his wealth. Okay, but when we get the new bodies and when we get everything back to under Yahushai, all right, ultimately our women won't think like this, and we won't have this problem. And our people overall, you know, after the 2/3 all wiped away, will be good. Mindset will be good, and those born of us, all right, will ultimately be born into the covenant perfect. So this is Wisdom of Solomon 7:1. I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him that was made of the earth. First made of the earth, going back to Adam, although he wasn't the first man created, he was the first to live through receiving the wisdom and instruction from on high. And in my mother's womb was fashioned, all right, nourished. That's a beautiful thing. But that's not enough for the woman. And that's not enough for Israel, period. They want the woman to be responsible for the fashioning and for the fact that the seed, and it's like the man has no preeminence. He has nothing. Okay, which that's what this society wants. That's what they teach of the man, of all nations, and particularly the Israelite man. But this society is anti-man. Men are back like big losers, rapists. You know, they ruin everything, right? While the woman is celebrated as this hero. Now, I'm gonna say this: like the woman is supposed to be like the queen, for the fact that she goes through birth pain, and you can never go through with a woman, but it wasn't supposed to be like that. Ultimately, the deer, all right, can be pregnant and stop what they're doing, and just the baby comes out. There's the various animals, they're not crying and screaming and kicking, but the queen of the earth, right? When she has a baby, she got to get an epidural from the Edomite to try to escape her curse. There's many female species that reproduce, but here it is, the top woman on the planet Earth. When she does it, it's pain involved. It's hell. It's a burden. Why is that? Why don't we ever get into that? Yeah, it's a beautiful thing that a woman is able to nourish and bring forth the seed. But why does she go through the pain and the labor? Well, it's written in the Holy Scriptures, man. In the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, and we'll get that in just a minute. It says, I myself am a mortal man, to like unto all, and an offspring of him that was first made of the earth. And in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep. And when I was born, I drew in the common air and fell upon the earth, which is of like nature, and the first voice I uttered was crying like others do. All right, I was nursed and swaddled in clothes and with cares, and there is no king that had any other beginning of birth. All right, and it's through the seed of man. Now, going to what we were talking about in the book of Genesis, why does the woman have all of these birth pains? Here it is, she's being celebrated for the fact that she goes through birth pains, and you know, the child comes out of the womb, which the way that it happens here in Babylon the Great is completely out of order. You're not supposed to be laying on a damn bed with your legs cocked open. Okay, another man, all right, bringing forth the child. And we had maiden nurses. Okay, and the father didn't see the child until after it was cleaned up. Here in this society, you're forced you're not a man if you're not in the labor room looking at him come out. Right? See, everything is backwards in the society, and all of the hell is put on the man. But we do it here in this society. You know, your child's brought forth, you're in there in the room as well. All right? But overall, technically, in our ancient customs, we wasn't in the room at the same time, all right, watching the child come out. All right? No. Anyway, this is Genesis 3. It's a lot of things that, ultimately in this culture that are ultimately were null and void when you go back into the ancient world, the ways of the East. And then we bring these things out, and Israelites make us to seem like barbarians and warriors and savages. Well, we're just telling you that's how it was in the ancient world. Okay, all you got to do is get a biblical manners and customs book. Okay, and it'll ultimately tell you. Let's get Genesis, the 3rd chapter. Hold up. Genesis, the 3rd chapter. I'm going to just get to the point. Genesis 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and conception. All right. And in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be unto thy husband. So here it is. The woman is made the hero in this great mama, you're that mama spirit. And we've all felt the nourishing of a caring mother. It's nothing like it. It's a beautiful thing. All right. But calm down. We've all right, had women where we was just passionate about the woman, but calm down. That does not make her, all right, the creator of life. As a matter of fact, the Most High creates life through his only begotten Son. But on earth, it is through a sperm seed, which is in the ball sack of a man. And he carried that seed before anybody carried it. given from the Most High through Yahweh Shai, of course. All right? See, on Mother's Day here, which is a pagan holiday, we don't celebrate that. But the woman, the mother gets everything, man. Roses, a dinner, okay, some big-ass shoes, right? Everything is given to the mother. But on Father's Day, what is the same wallet, the tie, okay? You may go over there and bake some chicken, but you ain't taking that nigga out to eat. The fathers have been ultimately looked down upon because we're in the system of Edomite supremacy, to the point where we devalue the role that the man was set up in and the importance of the man for our nation, period. We are of our fathers. The scriptures say, let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us. Begat us. What is begat? Okay, the seed going forth of the man, and the woman has an egg that receives the seed. Okay? It's a beautiful order. Right? But here it is. This is why you women, here it is, you praise for this. But see, that's what everything is set up for in this society, for the woman to not receive any blame. And it is just now in these latter days when we started to get on YouTube with the apostles and elders were the first to really go at the woman openly on camera. You didn't have too many men doing what they're doing now, right? That vibration of correcting the woman started with the apostles and elders going out. And I was there. I was on YouTube in 2007, all right, a part of that great awakening. So we know, we saw it. You had one dude named Sergeant Willie P., which he got on the woman, but then he got emotional about how we were getting on the woman. Now we've calmed it down, but the facts still remain that through her we all die, and you have a very big part in our downfall. It's not just the man. It's not like just the man made a mistake. The woman has a big part of the downfall as well, even within this captivity in Babylon the Great. Okay, going back to the feminist movement, who accepted of that philosophy? Who just start marching for no goddamn reason, all right, with an agenda that had nothing to do with you and your family? Okay? While the man is just tore down for being a man, God forbid you be a man, and undermined it. So here it is unto the woman. Why? Because you followed the serpent. I will multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be unto thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Now let's read this in the NLT. This is the curse that the Lord put on the woman. All right? Now, this also applies to the woman. This is a curse that will be upon the woman who's symbolic. Eve is symbolic of the nation of Israel. Okay? But the Lord put a spirit of disobedience and disarray between the woman and the man. All right. And the nation of Israel, the chosen seed, ultimately we started to fall from the order we were supposed to be in. Right. But it says in the NLT, then said he unto the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth. And you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. And is not that happening here in this time? The woman wants to maintain you. She wants to control your happiness. She wants to control where you at. She wants to control your whereabouts. She wants control of you. That is a age-old war that started in the garden when she took the pact with the serpent. So the reason you screaming, oh, hallelujah, breathe, breathe. The deer ain't doing that. Shit, you watch a deer give birth. They just stop and the baby comes out. They ain't screaming, ah! Looking out the corner there. They ain't doing all of that, but you do it. But here it is. You get praised for carrying the child, but the man who's been carrying the child all his damn life since he had puberty, right? Since he was developed, seeds. All right. He gets no credit. And he's this a nigga who ultimately laid with the great mother queen. And that's the queen of heaven worship. Now, the woman of the ancient world, I'm going to end it off here. They didn't have that mindset, the ones in righteousness. I carried you 9 months of my life and I take you out. I gave you life. No, you didn't. First of all, let's get Zechariah, the 12th chapter. The Lord gave us life. Zechariah 12:1, the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith the Lord, which stretcheth forth the heavens and layeth the foundation of the earth and formeth the spirit of man within him. You just have the egg, baby. You didn't put the spirit in that sperm, and you didn't shoot the sperm into you. Now, Esau is giving you artificial insemination and all that. We're talking about the natural way. In order for that egg to ultimately fill its purpose, a seed has to be put in there. And the man did that. And no matter what woman he puts that seed in, his seed, you telling me my seed, if I happen to lay with a heathen woman, my seed ain't mine, ain't of me? Right? Come on, man. And we get it. I mean, it's your emotion, it's your passion, all right, to be with an Israelite woman. I get it. I love Israelite women. Now, there's a particular kind of Israelite women, meek, humble. I don't like ghetto, loud, tattoos, all of it. I don't like all of that. But I prefer Israelite women. However, I'm a man. I look at heathen women, all right? Now, I don't have a vibe. I desire like a connection, all right? But, you can get your rocks off, right? That happens. You look at the heathen women, the Cushites, Elamites. I'm not really into Edomite women, but you look at some of them, all right. When they got, the thick lips, the hips, maybe Israelites, some of them. But the bottom line is, if I decide to deal with that woman and put my seed in her, my legacy is still forwarded into the earth. Okay? Because there's a spirit tied to each seed. That's why when the seed connects to the egg, there's a spark, because the Lord puts a spirit upon that seed. Okay? Because seeds are tied, all right, to the spirit. Spirits are tied to seed to preserve nations. That's the way nobody gets away. The Israelite's going to always be an Israelite because it was chosen in the heavens to be an Israelite. When that spirit comes to the earth, it will always be an Israelite. Now, if you take the doctrine you guys come with, then that would mean when it comes down to judgment, okay, we're going to play the percentage game? Well, yeah, no matter your emotion about the fact that our Israelite men lay with heathen women, okay, yeah, that's your emotion. We get it. And you're entitled to have that emotion. But the bottom line is you're going off and making your emotion a doctrine that doesn't make sense and that ultimately rebels against what's written in the scriptures. Now, let's get Wisdom of Solomon in 7th chapter and we out of here. Okay? Just wanted to, flush out these thoughts. Second Maccabees 7 is what I want. You dig? Second Maccabees chapter 7 and 22. Now this is the woman, and I'll start at the 20. Second Maccabees 7 and 20. This is when the mother and the children were put to death. The mother had to watch her children get put to death. Very beautiful chapter. Read it. Second Maccabees chapter 7 and 20. But the mother was marvelous above all and worthy of honorable memory. All right. For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of one day, she bare it with a good courage. Okay. Because of the hope that she had in the Lord. All right. So, yeah, there's women that are written about in the scriptures. But what we're saying is the Bible is primarily about the men, all right, who ultimately brought forth the nation, man, and had good works and prophesied. All right. Even the book of Ruth, okay, which Ruth was a heathen, right? The book of Ruth ultimately could have been called the book of Boaz, because it was Boaz who was the kinsman redeemer and who ultimately, all right, when the land, because the inheritor of the land died. So according to the law, one next in kin would have to buy the land, okay, to ultimately keep it, all right, for an inheritance. And that land just happens to be Bethlehem. And who was born in Bethlehem? David, Solomon, Yahushai. So by Boaz being the kinsman redeemer, which is a law, buying the land back in land with Ruth, the Moabite, right? Which there was a man before him that was in line to get the inheritance. But when he found out Ruth came with the deal, he was like, man, I already got, let's go mess up my inheritance. I already got something going, So Boaz was the one, which ultimately is the father of Jesse, which is the father of David, which is the father of Solomon. All right. And that family line, starting with David, going all the way back to Judah through Perez, was ultimately responsible for bringing forth the Messiah. So call halal Yahweh Bashim Shai for our fathers. Okay, you gotta sit and think about what you're saying. But we know men are in their emotions, and then when you start to cut them and bring out the truth, now men want to start calling you rapists, pedophiles, and all of that is going to turn around on you cats, man. Right? Anyway, verse 21, and she exhorted every one of them in her own language, filled with courageous spirits, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach, she said unto them. She had to tap. See, the Lord had to put a spirit of a man on her. All right? Not that she was walking through the street, yeah, nigga, spitting, nah. When she was faced with death, the Lord, because women are the weaker vessel. That's written in the scriptures. And that's no knock. Men are physically superior to women. But in the grand scheme of things, there are things that women could do that men can't do. Case in point, we can't issue forth a child out of our rod. Now, we do it in the form of ejaculation when the seed goes into the woman, but we can't sit there for 9 months with a child. No, that's the glory of the woman. And call halal Yahweh Bashim Shai for that. All this gender war? It comes from Babylon, man. And it comes from ultimately having a issue and order, and problem with the order of Yahweh Bashim Shai. We should be glorying in the roles that the Lord gave the man and the woman, and be happy that the Lord created those roles, and walk in those roles and be happy with those roles. But no. All right? The woman got to be responsible for the nationality of a child too. No. That's the father. He gave the father that. You are of your fathers. Okay, even dealing with the Edomites, their fathers were responsible for bringing forth their line. Okay? Now, which one of the 12, why ain't the 12 tribes of Leah? All right? 12 tribes of Rachel. No, it's the 12 tribes of Jacob. Israel, right? But let's listen to what this beautiful woman said, man. And that sister is probably back here today, watching the videos, house shoes on, This is how the Lord works. Some fervent for the word, right? It says, yeah, she exhorted every one of them in her own language, filled with courageous spirits, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach, she said unto them. The Lord had to put her in the spirit. I cannot tell you how you came into my womb. You see that? She wasn't proud. I gave you life. No, you didn't, baby. Okay? Put your hand down, okay? And calm down. Okay, get you some CBD tissue. All right? So you can calm your ass down. Please. You ain't built like that. And now you women have taken on to this pride and all of this, and now look what's happening in the world. Through. Good luck, baby. I cannot tell you how you came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was it I that formed your members, everyone in you. You see that? But you women run into these platforms so you could get some sort of validation when your validation is already in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. But doubtless the creator of the world, who formed the generation of man and found out the beginning of all things, with all of his mercy, all right, give you breath and life again. She also understood reincarnation. As ye now regard not your own selves, all right, for the law's sake. So there you go. All right. The Lord created man, and the order of man starts with the man and then the woman. Okay? So just wanted to flush those thoughts out. Yahweh Bashim Yahushai bless you all that are serious and sincere, man. Shalom.